Hello, welcome to Sound and Fury Book Reviews. As usual, I am Tina. Today I'm doing a book review of The Surviving Sky by Kritika H. Rao. I hope I'm pronouncing that properly. This is a fantasy novel coming out in June 2023 from Titan. I received this arc from NetGalley in exchange for a fair review. And yes, I'm wearing my floral shirt today to go with all the foliage in the to go with all the plants and foliage in this book. I am a complete dork. Before I even get into the review, though, look at that cover. Just look at it. It's gorgeous. This is a beautiful cover. Second, this book is not part of my May the Force Read With You readathon journey because I couldn't find a prompt that fit it. Oh well. Now, onwards to the review. There are no spoilers in this review. A fantasy that is sneakily post-apocalyptic, The Surviving Sky features relatable characters and a stunningly complex magic system. So what is it about? High above a jungle planet float the last refuge of humanity, plant-made civilizations held together by tradition, technology, and arcane science. In these living cities, architects are revered above anyone else. If not for their ability to psychically manipulate the architecture, the cities would plunge into the devastating Earth Rage storms below. Charismatic, powerful, mystical, Iravan is one such architect. In his city, his word is nearly law. His abilities are his identity, but to Aelia, his wife, they are a way for survival to be reliant on a privileged few. Like most others, she cannot manipulate the plants, and she desperately seeks change. Their marriage is already thorny. Plant joke. Then Aravan is accused of pushing his abilities to forbidden limits. He needs Aelia to clear his name. She needs him to tip the balance of rule in their society. As their paths become increasingly intertwined, deadly truths emerge, challenging everything each of them believes. And as the Earth rages become longer and their floating city begins to plummet, Aravan and Aelia's discoveries might destroy their marriage, their culture, and their entire civilization. See? Apocalypse. This book is quite beautiful. It has flavors of Howl's Moving Castle, mainly because it's a flying citadel, the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin, and Nausicaa and the Valley of the Wind, but is also an entirely fresh and new concept. If you haven't watched either of those movies or read that book, they're all wonderful, by the way, and you totally should. I said earlier that the Earth is sneaky apocalypse, and that's because it is set on an apocalyptic planet where people live in floating cities as the Earth is plagued by Earth rages, which are massive perpetual storms that cause the flora of the jungle to attack and go kind of berserk. We don't see a lot of post-apocalyptic tropes, like raiders, that kind of stuff, but there are, presumably, or at least I took them to be, mutated animals, technology or history from a previously undestroyed Earth that becomes unearthed, and people surviving on small plots of safe land. In this case, they are surviving in the sky. In a sense, the novel is like Waterworld. If you like fantasy and apocalypses, this is a great blend. It's also a non-Western fantasy with normalized LGBTQ plus rep, which was excellent. I also enjoyed that the main characters were around my age and dealing with a marital breakdown that wasn't based on abuse or cheating, which is something you rarely see, actually. And I thought that was really, really important and interesting. The magic system is revealed as the story progresses. In fact, that's kind of like the point of the novel, to learn how the magic functions. But in basic terms, there are people called architects who can control trees and other plants and who help the massive floating trees, which comprise the core of the cities, to float. A major part of the plot deals with the magic and how it functions, so I won't explain any of it because that would ruin it for you. But if you're the sort of person who really, really, really likes magic systems, as in a magic system so in-depth blends not only fantasy but physics and belief systems, in this case Hinduism, then do I have the book for you. This is the most detailed, intricate, well thought out, and intense magic system I have ever encountered in fantasy. Aside from the marriage plot, most of the novel is based on the characters developing a deeper knowledge of their magic system. They are doing a sort of magic archaeology to uncover facets of the magic that they don't understand but still use. The amount of thought, research, and focus that must have went into crafting this by the author is absolutely mind-boggling. It's deeply impressive. Yet. The thing is, and this is where I want to stress that this is a personal preference, not a reflection of the book or the author's skill. I, as a reader and a person, don't particularly care about magic systems. Just like I don't really give a crap how a spaceship engine works in sci-fi. I don't find it boring, but there are other things that get me way more excited, like etymology or alien cultures. I guess I'm kind of basic when it comes to magic systems. Just tell me dude is a wizard and give him a few rules, and that's all I really need to enjoy it. So for me, while I found the magic system in this book absolutely stunning, it was stunning to me in the way that ballet is stunning, meaning I can appreciate the art and work that went into it, but I don't really care. That sounds terrible because the thing is, it is interesting. Like, I wasn't like bored reading it. I just wasn't like, like losing my mind over it. And that's the thing. I think a lot of people would definitely be losing their mind over the magic system on this because it just depends on what you are interested in. If you are a total nerd for magic systems, you absolutely have to read this book because it will just ruin you with entertainment. But for me, who's not a nerd for magic systems, who's a nerd for other stuff, this aspect was a bit overbearing in terms of pushing aside other aspects of the novel that I was more interested in. Now, I'm not saying the characters aren't well developed. I thought Aelia and Aravan were an interesting pair because of how their marriage was breaking down, as it was in a way that was unique, as it was doing so in a way that was unique to the system of the novel and rooted at its core in the one character's career and arrogance and the other's stubbornness and distaste with the elite status of the other due to his career. It, like the magic system, was layered and complex, with situations that made sense and the type of argument or tension you'd see between two people who love one another but aren't sure why the relationship isn't working. Or they do know, but they refuse to talk about it. It's relatable and it's realistic. Yet, I could have had a few more backstory scenes, some more flashbacks to them as a new couple, or even when their life was working a few months prior. There were some, but more would have made me really feel the relationship deeper than I did. I could have also used a bit more about the society of the Ashran. This is the floating city. Like, how do they dispose of trash in the flying city? It's alluded to that a lot of stuff is reusable or recycled, but how does the plumbing work? Where do clothes get made? Where do they get water from? Are they all vegetarians? How does housing work? If you watch my channel, you know that infrastructure is something I nerd out on. And in this book, I just wasn't sure how the council of the city was ruling the entire place because it's just these architect people that are doing all the ruling. But there's no one on the council that seems to deal with everyday affairs that you would think that people would be concerned about, like plumbing, like sanitation, like garbage collection, things like that. I was just like, I want to know more about how the city actually, the mechanics of how this city functions in the sky. Was this a major problem? No, of course not. In fact, most people wouldn't even notice or care about it. I guess for me, a little less detail in the way the magic functioned and more on the anthropological aspects would have been more engrossing for me personally, especially in a book that's almost 600 pages. But again, this is a preference thing. I highly recommend this book for everybody, but specifically for people who love very detailed magic systems, decidedly non-Western approaches to fantasy. I love that aspect too. Realistic characters and flying citadels. Oh, and there are also some fun creatures called yakshas that are like massive mutated animals. Those were super fun and I love that. So anyway, I hope you learned a lot about me and my weird preferences in this video, but also that you should check out this book. And thank you again to Titan and NetGalley for the arc. I very much appreciated it. Also, again, that cover, gorgeous.